Hello, my friends, and happy Thursday. It's a wonderful day here in Wisconsin. And speaking of that, it's nice to be back. I'm back. We're back from our vacation in the beautiful Galapagos. And we have so many stories. It was amazing, of course. We swam with sea lions and turtles and sharks and penguins and all sorts of other cool critters. And we saw so many beautiful, amazing things. But now it's wonderful to be home. And we were so happy not to come home to extreme cold. So super grateful for the almost spring weather here in Wisconsin. And today we are going to be making triple the gems bracelet. Bracelet or necklace, you choose. So please join me and I will show you my 3 colorways.
This is Southwest.
Awesome. So let's see if Tony can remember all the different colorways.
I memorized them.
Awesome. Good job.
Fonda says, good evening, everyone. Welcome back. We missed you.
Hi, Fonda. Thank you so much for joining, my friend. And I missed you too.
Kim K says, welcome back from your vacation. Happy Thursday. Oh, happy spring. That's right. That's tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Kim. Yes.
Wow.
Happy spring tomorrow. So technically we can say that during tomorrow's video.
Allie says, so glad you had a great trip. Glad to see you online today, and sends hearts.
Oh, thank you so much, Allie. This goes to Allie and everyone who is watching. Sending you guys hearts. And so happy to hear from you. Really, as much as we had such a really, really wonderful time on vacation, but it's always so nice to come home. So yes, it's great to be home, and we're all creatures of our various routines. I'm also. And yes, it is totally in my DNA to want to do something with my hands. So yes, I was really happy to be back at my desk. And I have my amazing memories, and I can't think about the beautiful sea lions and all the other lovely, lovely critters. But I love creating too. So I got all sorts of inspiration. And in the meantime, we're looking at lavender fields. It's a bit more subtle. I don't know if you can quite tell the 3 different colors. But we have the amethyst, the iolite, and the green tourmalated quartz. And then we have formal affair. Again, a little bit more subtle than the Southwest version. And in the formal affair, we have moonstone and labradorite on this side. And then we have obsidian.
Isn't that tourmalated quartz?
It is indeed. Wait, this?
This one on this side.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I don't know what I'm saying, I'm still getting my bearings. Thanks, Tony. It is indeed tourmalated quartz.
Bobby says, hope you weren't on the roads yesterday.
Hi, Bobby.
We didn't get a whole lot of snow down here.
No, we actually got mostly rain. I know we were expecting snow, but no, it was rain, and very grateful for not a whole lot of snow right now.
Kim R says, welcome home. I'm so glad to see my beading friends.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim. Yes, beading friends. I'm so glad to be back and talking to you guys.
Yolanda says, hello, Irina, Tony, and all.
Hi, Yolanda. Thanks for joining. All right, my friends. So we are going to make this, you decide, it's either a triple bracelet or it's a necklace. And I think it's just as fun as a necklace as it is a bracelet. So just for fun, I'm going to model this for you. So it's clearly a triple wrap, and I finished it with this very, very long extender chain, which actually, if we didn't want such a long extender chain, we could cut some of it off. It's our bracelet after all. We can do what we want. But in the meantime, it ends on a lobster clasp, or maybe it begins with a lobster clasp. And on the other end, we have the extender chain, so we can size it even after it was created. And this, of course, is especially important if you're making it for somebody other than yourself. But frankly, even for myself, I really enjoy these pieces that are pretty versatile, because even if, let's say, I have a few other bracelets on, which I very often do, and so this part of my wrist is going to be just a little bit narrower than maybe this part of my wrist. So depending on how many bracelets I have on my wrist, I may want to use a different part of the chain to clasp into. So that is something to consider. Even if you're making the bracelet for yourself, it is still kind of a fun thing that you can size it. You know, some days we might want it looser, some days we might want it tighter. So this is the larger part of my wrist, hence I am putting it into a different link rather, and this is what it looks like. So it's always nice to leave yourself a little room for sizing. You know, if we go and we eat a little extra dessert or whatever, and we feel like our wrist is a little bigger that day or a little smaller that day, who knows? I'm mostly joking about the dessert. Okay, so this, oh yes, and then I was going to also demo this as a necklace. So I have a few of my own necklaces on right now, and I'm just going to put this on so that you can see how long it is. So and we'll measure it in a moment because I can never quite remember how long it is, so we'll find out. It's a mystery for right this moment. So I am just putting it on. I don't know, where is it? It's right here. So what do you think? So I'm guessing it's probably around 19, 20 inches. I'm sure it's getting tangled with a few other things. So what do you think? Is this okay? I can't see myself, so you guys are my mirror. So let me know if this is okay. Should it be longer? Should it be shorter? I clasped it right around the middle of my extender chain. So it was right around here. And then of course it could have been a little longer or a little shorter. And just for fun, let's measure it. So I am going to include in my measurement the clasp, the lobster. Okay, so we have 12 plus, okay, so if we include the full length of the extender chain, it is 22 inches. So that makes sense. If your wrist is around 6.5 or 7 inches, and of course, if your wrist is larger and you wanted to fit both your wrist and also be worn as a necklace, it will be a longer necklace. And actually, it can be made up to about 27, 28 inches. I want to say in the Etsy shop, we said 27.5, but it can be longer. So let's say if you have an 8-inch wrist, maybe it will end up 24, 25 inches. It really all depends on how you like to wear your jewelry. So just keep that in mind.
Kim K says beautiful.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Allie says nice length.
Thank you. Yay.
Katie S says welcome home. Hope you had a wonderful vacay.
Oh, thank you so much, Katie. Yes, it was really, you guys, it was a trip of a lifetime. Especially, if you really enjoy animals and snorkeling and a little bit of hiking. It was really kind of, when I say it was a dream, I am not exaggerating. It was such a good trip. So, but all good things must come to an end. But then there are other good things like being home and designing and talking to you guys. So I'm loving being home right now and, sleeping in my own bed. And of course, we have our little dog. I mean, it's just wonderful to be home.
And we'll put a collage up on your page of our favorite moments.
Yes, we have some favorite moments. So we will share those on my page. Okay, my friends, so why don't we get started? Okay, so when you get your kit, your griffin cord is going to be on a card. Of course, my griffin cord is like nice and messy because, of course, I have already worked with this griffin cord. Nevertheless, and I do, even once I've started the length of griffin cord, whatever I don't use, I put it back on the card because then it doesn't tangle. So when you take your griffin cord off the card, you will find that it's kind of kinked. You can see those little zigzags that are left by the card. So I like to straighten it. If I'm working with really large beads, I guess I don't care quite as much. But when I work with smaller beads, I really like to straighten my griffin cord. And no, I don't iron it. I probably don't even know how to use an iron at this point. So what I do is I just put a little bit of water and just on my fingertips, and I draw the cord between my fingertips.
Allie says, can't wait to see your collage. That sounds awesome.
Oh, thank you so much, Allie.
Bonnie says, I like this convertible bracelet idea.
Yay, thank you so much. So, one day, if you feel like it, you wear it as a bracelet, and the next day you can have it as a necklace. And if you get really creative, you can also put a little something, like a little pendant on a lobster clasp, and you could just clasp it in the middle of your necklace too. So it can really be very, very versatile.
Allie says, did you know that the Galapagos Island trip is the trip that National Geographic gives to the students who are Geography Bee winners? That tournament happens at the beginning of the summer. It's always so much fun to see the kids' knowledge of our globe.
That is amazing. Well, I think maybe we are Geography Bee winners, maybe, because we went on the National Geographic tour. So good for them. That is so wonderful that they do that. I had no idea. And yes, we actually did learn a ton. We had these wonderful naturalists on board who went with us on every offshore excursion. Well, onshore, I should say, off-ship excursion. So offshore and snorkeling and all of that. So we learned so much about the amazing wildlife of the Galapagos.
Barb says, good evening, everyone. I didn't realize this was a one-piece project, so much better than that it doubles as a necklace.
Oh, thank you so much, Barb. Surprise! Yes, it is indeed a one-piece project, but it's 2 or possibly 3 in 1. Okay, so you see how nice and straight my griffin cord is now. So now it is ready to work with. And I did this a little bit differently, ladies, than I normally do. So let me show you my and. So very often what I do, and some of you have seen it, very often I will use a wire guardian and then I will use a jump ring to connect to, sometimes I do use a jump ring, sometimes I connect directly with the wire guardian. But this time, I wanted to keep my hardware as dainty as I possibly can. There's always, it's a good way to construct things when you use the wire guardian, when you use the jump rings. But when I have something this dainty and delicate, I try to keep my hardware to a very minimum. So, hence, just the 3 millimeter crimp cover or knot cover. That is, well, in addition, of course, to the clasp, which obviously is something that we absolutely must have. And so, in keeping this really, really minimal hardware-wise, I am going to tie the griffin cord, and if anybody is not familiar with griffin cord, it is silk cord. It actually comes in nylon as well, but my preference is silk. So whenever I put it in kits, I generally use silk. So in this case, we have silk cord in size 4, which is a really nice size for the beads we're working with, and more importantly, for the holes in our beads. So I'm about to tie a knot, and that's really all that is going to hold our bracelet and connect it to the lobster clasp. So here we go. I am just tying an overhand knot. And incidentally, this is exactly the kind of knot we're going to use to make the entire piece. So here's my overhand knot, and I'm just tightening it. You know, you can pull on one side, you can pull on the other side. And before I cover it or glue it, I'm just going to show you that I like to leave just maybe 2 millimeters between the loop of the lobster clasp and the knot, just for ease of movement. So please do not try to make this knot as close as you can. I could have made it right next to the loop, but then I would not have had this nice movement, and that just doesn't make for a great piece, right? So we want a little bit of movement. And now I'm going to use a little bit of super glue glue just to stop the string from fraying, because we are, of course, going to cut off the excess string. And so here it is. I always put the glue on the string itself, on the non-working side of the string, and then I gently guide it toward the knot. And I always have a little piece of paper so that if you happen to use a little bit too much glue, you can always just wick it away with your piece of paper. And we're just going to leave it sit for a second while I put the glue top back on. And this dries very, very quickly. So while it's drying, I'm just going to show you the crimp cover or the knot cover. We're obviously not using the crimp, and we're using a 3 millimeter knot cover, which we may or may not have to open a little bit.
Jeline says, hi, I'm late, but here.
Hi, Jeline. I'm glad you're here. And you're not all that late. Okay, ladies. So I am going to, oh, and I just glued it to my hand, but only a little bit. And so it seems to be dry. And we are going to cut off the excess string. And because we glued it, obviously, it's now not going to fray, which is exactly what we were looking for. And we're going to see if we can fit this little finding right over the knot. And yes, we can. However, let's say you're at this point and you cannot fit your knot cover. What you do then is you put the nose of your chain nose right into this crimp cover, and you very, very gently open the two sides just a tiny bit. Okay, and just by pushing it out like this, I'm not actually doing it because mine fits very nicely, but you can very easily open your crimp cover with your chain nose, and then it will fit over your knot. Sometimes they're just not quite as open as mine is. And then we're going to use our chain nose pliers. Once that little knot is inside our crimp cover, we're using our chain nose pliers to bring the two sides together as much as we can. And there's always going to be a little opening. And now we're going to shift the pliers. And at this point, we're putting one side of the chain nose pliers just on one side of the knot cover. And just very gently, we push on the one side, then we turn it around. We do the same thing on the other side. And as a result of that, we have a beautiful round bead, or what appears to be a round bead. And if you look very, very closely, you will see the seam, but really you have to look very closely.
Dale is wondering what type of glue you used.
Hi, Dale. Yes, I used super new glue. This is what it looks like, and it's super. It's really a good glue for this use. I have to warn you a little bit, or caution you. It does come out very, very quickly. So it's almost kind of like water. It's very runny, which is why I like using it in these little tiny spots like this. But just be a little careful so that you don't pour a whole lot out at once. Okay, so once you have your crimp cover, we're just going to start adding our beads. And I do this one bead at a time. And so here's my first little Amazonite bead. And we're going to put it right next to our knot cover. And we're going to tie an overhand knot. This is what an overhand knot looks like. The way I do it is like this. So I wrap the string around two of my fingers. Then I put my thumb inside that loop that I just formed. You see how I'm grabbing the string and pushing it right back into the loop. And this is very easy for me. So let me first show you how I do it, and then I'll talk about some other options. And you see how I'm keeping the loop right next to the bead. The knot does not start out like somewhere out here. It's always right next to the bead. I'll do a few more. And you see how it's very, very simple. At least for me, it's like this is my favorite method of knotting. And frankly, it's really the only method that I use. So, having said that, a lot of people like it, and some people don't. And some people will use an awl, and some people will use a tweezer. And it's really a very similar way of doing it. Now, if you are using an awl, I didn't even grab an awl because it's not really in my wheelhouse as far as doing this. But I will show you in a moment, sort of in theory, how to do it if you want to try doing it a different way. So again, make sure that the bead is right next to the previous bead. Wrap around 2 fingers, slip your thumb, and your pointer finger just kind of pushes the string into the loop, just like this. Grab the string, pull it through, and the knot always stays right here, right next to the bead. So it's not like I'm starting the knot somewhere else and then moving it toward the bead. So this is what it looks like. However, if you want to try it the other way, what I think people do, and it's almost kind of hard for me to do it the opposite way from how I normally do it, but if you are, let's say, using an awl, as I said, I don't have an awl, but you would take your awl, so pretend that my chain nose is my awl, and you would literally move, okay, this is a little awkward because it's not an awl, but you see how you can just move the knot toward wherever you need it to be. So that's pretty much it. And if you're using a pair of tweezers, you would do it in the very, very same way. So, try it my way. Clearly, I like it. And if you end up not liking it, you can try something else.
Katie S says, great demo.
Oh, thank you so much, Katie. But if anybody has experience with an awl and if you want to share it, I really like to promote other ideas. We are a community, so if you have a good tip as far as what works for you, please feel free to share how you do this. So this is really how you're going to make the entire bracelet or necklace. And the only other tip that I have to give you is that when you get to certain beads, you will find that it's just ever so slightly larger drilled. Like I know for sure these carnelian beads are just a tiny bit larger as far as the hole. And so really my only advice is that you don't have to make the knot absolutely as tight as you can. You still just make your knots how you make your knots, and you don't have to pull them really a whole lot, because if the knots get too small, maybe every so often your bead wants to move over. But overall, this is very easy, and you're just going to knot exactly like this. Okay, so now through the magic of Facebook Live, look at this. My bracelet / necklace is just about done. So we are going to have to finish it. And how we're going to finish it is really kind of the same, but just a tiny bit different. And really the only difference is going to be that, we're going to have to decide. Do we want to maybe, well, you know what? Let me ask you guys, how do you feel about this very, very long extender chain? Do you have any feelings? Because, I do care about your feelings. So do you have any feelings about the length of the extender chain? I think on one of these I may have made it smaller or shorter. I don't remember. Maybe I just wanted to make it shorter. This was like a whole, I don't know, 2 weeks ago that I made these. So, and it feels like 2 months.
Bobby says, I use an awl, easy knotter, knotty do-it-all, and a hand knotter. You're a brave lady.
Thank you so much, Bobby. Honestly, for me, this is like the easiest way. You know, I love tools, I really do, but we kind of have to remember that our hands are really the best tool that we have. And whenever I can do something just with my hands, I do. And okay, so in the meantime, I am not really sure how you feel about the length, but, and maybe you're in the process of responding to that, but just for fun, I'm going to show you that yes, you can chop some of this off and everybody's still happy. So if you feel you don't really need this much length in your extender chain, just cut off whatever seems like a good idea.
And Fonda is wondering what size beads you are using.
Oh, thanks for asking, Fonda. So for the most part, these are 4 millimeter beads. However, you know, when you buy gemstone beads, they're not like Swarovski. There are going to be some variations. So I'm actually so glad you asked, Fonda, because some of my, you know, quote unquote 4 millimeter beads are actually more like 3.5. So you can see that the Amazonite is just a little bit smaller than, say, the carnelian or the turquoise. And so what I tend to do is just make certain that I don't put the smallest thing in the center. If I have two beads that are about the same size as are the carnelian and the turquoise, then I let the color determine what I want in the center. And really, I could have put the carnelian in the center and had the turquoise on one side and then have the Amazonite on the other side. So that's really up to you. So again, they're going to vary between about 3.5 to 4.5 millimeters. And when you make your bracelet, just make sure not to put the smallest one in the center.
Kim K says, do you stretch your silk? It seems like every time I make something knotted, gaps begin to appear after I wear the necklace or bracelet a few times.
That's an interesting question. I actually do not stretch my silk. What I do is exactly what you saw me do in the very beginning. Remember when I straightened this, because you see how kinked this one is, and this one is pretty straight. So I don't know if you maybe missed the beginning, but I used a little bit of water to, well, I was going to say to stretch it, but really it's more like to smooth out the kinks. And I have not really noticed a whole lot of stretching, but there's one necklace that I made maybe 3 to 4 years ago, and I wear it a lot. I probably wear it at least once a week. And so I have worn it like a schmillion times. And I have noticed just a little bit of stretching, but because it's knotted in between, I don't think it's an issue. If it's not knotted, you're going to end up with some bare string at the end, right, of your beads. But if it's knotted, it just has not been an issue for me. And again, if anybody else wants to share their experiences, please do. Okay, my friends, so in the meantime, so I cut off a little chunk of the extender chain, and now I am going to string my griffin cord, my silk cord, through the extender chain. And on this side, because we already have all these beads, it's just not going to happen for us if we're trying to tie an overhand knot again. So instead of an overhand knot, we are tying a half hitch knot. Because really, for me, that's really the only thing that works. However, a half hitch knot is not something that's going to hold all that well. In fact, it's just really not going to hold. So what I do is, and first of all, before I tie the second knot, I'm just going to point out that I have 3 to 4 millimeters between the chain and the next bead. We do need a little bit of space because we're going to cover the knot. And so we need at least 3 millimeters for our knot cover. So in the meantime, I am just tying another half hitch knot, and it's going to make it hold a little bit better, but still not all that well. And so the only thing that really is going to stop it from being undone is when I put a little super new glue on it. And again, always, this really works for me. I start out on the string, the non-working side of the string, and then I just kind of guide the glue to the knot. And I always have a little piece of paper right next to me. So, I mean, I didn't really use too much, but if I had too much glue, I would just wick it away like this, just with a corner of my little piece of paper. And the reason I do this is because it comes out, it's so watery, it's so non-viscous that if you put it on the knot itself, it may just run down the working side of the string, and then it will make it really, really stiff. You see how stiff this part is? You can see where I have the glue. Can you guys see that? And so if we had that same thing happen on the working side, it would become brittle and it would eventually break in that spot.
Fonda has a good question. She says, while making the knots, if you do an oops and don't get the knot where you need it, is there a way to get the knot out without making your cord fuzzy?
You know, for me, the way to get the knot out is not with a needle or with an awl, but with a chain nose. And you have to have a little bit of patience, but I will show you how I do it. So, because the thing is, if you start poking at your knot with a needle or an awl, it will make it fuzzy. So I'm just faking it right now. So if you tie your knot like this, and yes, I didn't tie it super tight, but this works for me even when I do. I just have to spend a little time. So, and I might even have a different chain nose in my other hand, which I don't have right this moment, but you get the idea. So if you grab the knot with your chain nose pliers, and you may have 1 or 2 chain nose pliers, and you know it will take a little longer, but you can actually get away with not leaving any fuzzies.
Lori says, good evening, Irina and Tony.
Hi, Lori. Good evening. So nice to hear from you. Okay, my friends. So in the meantime, my glue is dry. And I'm just going to cut, and you can see I cut right next to the knot. I don't leave a little tail or anything. And the reason I don't have to is because it's glued. So it's just not going to come undone. It is not going to fray. So I have another one of the knot covers, also known as crimp covers. And I will put this right over the knot. I'll make sure that the knot is all the way in. And as you know, if you need to, you can open it up a little bit further, just like I showed a little bit earlier in the video. And now we're just going to do the same exact thing where we push the 2 sides together. We're still going to have that little bit of a gap. And then reposition your pliers, same chain nose, push a little bit on one side, turn it the other way, push a little bit on the other side. And ta-da! We are all done. So this is what it looks like. It should just be very, very similar to a round bead once you close your crimp cover. And here is my bracelet that I just finished. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And it just kind of stacks. And of course, all those stacking bracelets, the stretchy ones, the non-stretchy ones, they're all so very, very popular. And this can just go with your, whatever your bracelet party consists of. It will just go with everything. Okay, my friends, so this is what we just made. And I have many, many announcements. So stick around because I have to tell you some very important things. So you know what? Maybe I will lay these out like a little bracelet. Well, you know you can wear them as a necklace.
Allie says lovely.
Oh, thank you so much, Allie. We'll lay it out like a little snail guy.
And that first one is Southwest colorway.
Yeah. And what is the next one?
That's Formal Affair.
Yes. So this one is very, well, it's black and white. So it doesn't really get any more formal than that. So this is Formal Affair. And last but not least is, okay, I'll help Tony.
Lavender Fields.
Oh, very good. Yay. I guess he passed the quiz.
Yay.
Good job. Okay, so this is Lavender Fields, which is actually a good segue to what I'm doing tomorrow. Because, well, I was looking at the amethyst in the lavender fields.
Before we talk about what you're doing tomorrow, we should talk about what Facebook is doing with videos.
Yes. Facebook is doing something really naughty and terrible. So you guys are probably aware of this at this point. So what Facebook is doing, unfortunately, is they're saying any video over 30 days old is going to be deleted. So that's kind of a bummer because all of our directions for the kids are on Facebook. So what we're going to be doing going forward is we're going to be giving you a link that will take you to YouTube, correct? So like this one, does it take us, or no, this is probably the last one that only takes you to Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but, so this is the last one that takes us to Facebook. And as of next week, it's going to take you to YouTube. And so the directions are going to be on YouTube rather than on Facebook.
Yes, and this will be on your YouTube channel, which is Irina Miech Jewelry Design.
Correct.
And that will also be in the comments.
Absolutely. So all of this is going to be in the comments. So again, it's going to be on my Facebook page.
No, on your YouTube channel.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you so much, Tony. So on my YouTube channel. And so this is new. We're all still getting used to it, but we're going to make it as easy as we possibly can. So you're probably wondering, but wait, what about all of the kits before today's kit? What if I order any of the kits? Or perhaps I have a kit that which I have not made yet. Well, first of all, what are you waiting for? Just go ahead and make it. It's fun. But it's okay. If you want to savor it, put it in a drawer, look at it a couple of times, and then perhaps make it, you know, in a few months, that is okay. Because we are going, so what we did is we got an extension from YouTube. They gave us an extra 6 months. And in the next 6 months, so first of all, for the next 6 months, all those directions are still going to be right there where you expect them to be, which is on Facebook. And then once the 6 months are up, they're going to be on YouTube. So we're going to take the next 6 months and we are going to take 4 possibly more years of directions, and we're going to put them on YouTube. Again, my YouTube channel, which has existed for a long time, but nobody ever used it. But now, obviously, we will be using it. So, yay. So, hopefully, there are not a lot of glitches with this. And obviously, if ever you have a kit and you simply cannot get to the directions, well, you know where to find us. So you contact us and we will do everything we possibly can do to get you to the directions, or to get the directions to you. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Put your questions in the comments, and we can all chat about it.
Katie S. says, so glad we'll be able to access. I recently looked up a 3-year-old video on how to make shamrock sun catchers.
Oh, thank you so much. So I will say some of the videos will go away. We're kind of debating possibly anything older than 4 years might go away.
Yep.
And most definitely the shopping events will go away, because shopping events are time sensitive. But the directions, at least for the past 4 years, we want to keep, and especially the mix and match directions.
And Barb says, when we watch weekly, will it still be on Facebook or on YouTube? It will be on Facebook.
Thank you so much. Yes. Well, at least for now. So
For now, yes.
For now, we're saying Facebook, and who knows?
Unless they do more naughty stuff.
Yes. If Facebook continues to be naughty, I mean, we're not really grudge holders, but if it becomes difficult, who knows? We may all have to transition to Facebook. But for now, we're just to YouTube rather. But for now, we're going to hang out right here on Facebook.
And Fonda has a good question. She says, does that mean if we saved your videos to our Facebook pages, those will also be deleted? I have to research that, but I do think that they will be deleted because it is a Facebook link. But if you were to download the video to whatever device you have and save it, then no, it will not be. You will have access to it.
Oh, you know what? I'm so glad we brought this up. Yeah, if you have your favorite videos, like say the shamrock video, if you got a little bit excited about making shamrocks and you just want to have it, just download whatever looks good to you for right now, especially anything that is 4 years or older, because we're not likely to keep it. But the rest are going to be on YouTube. Okay. So, moving right along, ladies. I know there's so many things I want to tell you about. So, okay, so we're gonna have to maybe pick up a candle, or find one at home. So this is a candle holder, and this has to do with tomorrow's treasures. And look at this really, really awesome amethyst mushroom. So tomorrow, for our shopping event, we're going to go on an awesome amethyst adventure. And we will be exploring amazing amethyst geoclusters like this one, and one-of-a-kind pendants, beads, magical trees, cabochons, and so much more. So we'll plant our little mushroom right there. But wait, there's more. So we have a lot going on right now. So it's like, we got back and we just hit the ground running, and it's been fun, I have to say. So on Monday, I'm doing another video, because remember, I've been doing those pop-up videos on Mondays. I don't know if I'm going to continue doing those, but for right now, we have so much to show you. We're having a lot of fun on Mondays, in addition to Thursdays and Fridays. And so March 24th at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Eclectica Facebook page, we're going to be looking at rhodochrosite and all sorts of pretty in pink gemstones.
And I forgot to grab a sample.
I forgot to grab a sample, but you know, I can't possibly remember everything, but they're awesome. So you'll just have to join me for that as well. And you can see a little preview in our event. So if you normally go to our event page, just go and you can see the preview. And then on Thursday, wait, I do have my sample for Thursday. I will be making the Santa Fe Moon necklace. And right now it looks like I may have another colorway in addition to this one. So this is a very kind of delicate piece. It's a 2-strand necklace with turquoise and more turquoise and a little bit of spiny oyster. And it's just a touch southwestern. The other sample I haven't made yet, but it's going to be pearl. I'm very excited about that one as well. I'm just going to put it right here next to my bracelets. And so that's going to be Thursday, March 27th. And here, let's lay this out. Okay, so I made a little bit of a mess, but you saw here. We'll fix it. We'll fix it because, you know, we want to make it pretty. So here it is. This is what it looks like. And now we're just going to let it drop, and we hope it drops the way I want it to drop. So there we go. And then I want to tell you, and this is probably not for everybody because, you know, everybody lives in different states all over the country, but if you're anywhere near Michigan, specifically Novi, Michigan, we're going to be doing our well, I guess at this point, it's our yearly event. This is our second year. We're doing the Eclectica and Friends Bead Show. And it's going to be at the Sheridan Hotel in Novi. And again, it's going to be Saturday and Sunday, March 29th and 30th. And so this is just kind of a very tiny little show. It's just us and a few of our bead supplier friends. Lauren, as you might know, Lauren is pretty much my sister of the heart, and she's going to be there, as are a few of our other beading friends. Diane Hockey, a wonderful, very talented ceramic artist. There are going to be many, well, not many. There are going to be about 10 vendors, I want to say, maybe 12, somewhere between 10 and 12 vendors. I kind of lost track. So it's just kind of a little boutique show, and it's great fun. This is, as I mentioned, this is the second year we're doing it. So if you're somewhere in the area, come visit. We would love to see you. And Tony's letting me know that there are a couple of messages.
Kim Case has so much to look forward to. Thanks for sharing the beautiful bracelet necklace design.
Thank you so much, Kim.
And Allie has a great comment. Just found you and subscribed to your YouTube channel.
Yay,
yes,
thank you so
subscribe
much.
And then you will see where the videos are.
Yes, please do subscribe. This is kind of an uncharted territory for us. So as we do this, just remember, we're doing this together. We're teamwork here, or we want teamwork. So please give us feedback as you watch the videos on YouTube. I don't quite know exactly how any of this works. We haven't done this before. So let us know if this is all working out, if there's something we can do better, differently. Let us know, please. And please do subscribe.
And there are hundreds of videos, so it will take us a little while to get those up.
Yeah, so please be patient. Give us just a little time. So technically, we have 6 months to do this. And probably not this week or next week because we're getting ready for the show in Detroit. But as of April, we are going to start transferring those videos to YouTube. And for the next 6 months, they're still going to be available on Facebook, but not the ones going forward. Because the ones going forward, we do not have the extension for those. So anything that I am showing in the next 6 months is not going to be, well, it is going to be on Facebook for 1 month, but then it's also going to be on YouTube.
2 more questions. Lori says, not question, 2 more comments. Lori says, thank you for tonight's live. I'll go back and rewatch. I missed a lot, and sends a heart.
Oh, thank you so much, Lori. Big hearts to everyone.
And Bobby has a good question. She says, dummy here. Nobody's a dummy.
No. Nobody's a dummy. Please ask questions. Literally, they help everyone. Somebody who maybe didn't think of asking the same thing.
And she says, when a person subscribes, do they get a bunch of emails? To my knowledge, no. You're just subscribing to the page. Yeah.
No, so I'm a YouTube junkie. Okay?
Oh, perfect.
I watch a lot of movies on YouTube, or like I watch other things, a lot of educational things. I'm a geek, so I watch a lot of different things. So I do have a lot of subscriptions, and all that means is that YouTube is going to notify you when there's a new video. So that's really all it means.
Perfect.
Yeah, so they notify you, but not via email. There's just like a little thing that pops up, and you can watch it if you want to, and you don't have to watch it at all.
All right, and Allie has the sign-off comment. She says, yay, I binge watch you on the weekends while doing laundry.
Yay, thank you so much for binge watching me. And I do the same thing, while I'm putting things away or doing laundry or whatever. So yeah, that's a great thing to do. So, okay, my friends, thank you so much. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your questions. And I will see you tomorrow. Please join me for the Amethyst Adventure. In the meantime, have a wonderful and creative evening.